Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to the show. Whether you're watching this broadcast live or you're listening to it as a podcast, welcome to our show. We're so glad that you're in the audience. Remember we always love comments, likes, and shares.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. If you're watching on LinkedIn, you can make comments, and you can on any of them, on any of the outlets, you can make comments, and we'll make sure that those comments are
can be seen.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's early, or it's too late. One of the two.
No, we're not.
Well, let's welcome our guest tonight. It's LYNETTE CRESSWELL from the UK, fantasy author and well-established
multi-genre author.
That's true.
Yeah.
And let's welcome her on in right now. Hello, LYNETTE.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm fine, and it's lovely to meet you both.
It's lovely to meet you too. And I'm just sorry it's pre-recorded so that the audience can't meet you in person, because I know they would love to talk to you and ask you lots of questions. And sorry about the fluff up there.
Fluff up? What?
That's live.
He forgot who he was for a minute there and what we were doing. I do want to mention to the audience that we are broadcast on 5 channels. So when you are making comments, you won't see what the other channels are. If you're not watching on the same channel, you won't see what those people are saying. So for those on LinkedIn, we've noticed you're reluctant to speak because no one is commenting from your channel. So go ahead and comment. We would love to hear from you.
That's kind of what I was trying to say before.
I know.
Yeah. Well said.
But he forgot the words.
What about that? So
go ahead.
This is good. Yeah, we're in sync today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, LYNETTE.
Okay, I don't even know where to start, really. The beginning, yes, that seems such a long time ago now, really, when you look back on my life. So obviously, like a lot of writers, I started writing from the age when I could hold a pen from school. We're of a generation where books were obviously a big deal in our life. We didn't have computers or anything like that then. So books was our main source of information and obviously entertainment. So from very young, even from primary school, I used to write little stories, and I kind of got an instinct that something was going quite well because the teacher always used to read my stories out to the class. So I knew I was onto a winner, and obviously that gave me confidence even as a child to know that maybe I had some kind of gift, I suppose, or very raw as it would have been at that time. Hit sort of a few more years later, and I joined the armed forces. My husband's also an ex-soldier, and I found that I was doing a lot of journalism really for the forces, where I was in a place called Krefeld in Germany. I started to do a lot of things about the area, what it was like to be a forces wife, all them sort of things, working with SAFA, doing more and more work. And I really enjoyed that. It was good. And then I obviously started to have my family and my children. I then started writing little stories for them. And they went down really well, to the point where other mums and dads were saying, oh, could I have a copy of that story? Or could my child's name be in that story? Because I used to put my children's names in them, you see. And it kind of started from there, really. And then as my children started to leave home, my husband had said to me, you've always wanted to write a book. Why don't you do it? And I came up with all sorts of excuses, as you do. I haven't got time. I'm bringing up the children, all the usual things. And at that time, I didn't have a laptop or anything. So he went out and bought me a laptop of my own and said, no, you've got no excuse. Off you go. And that is really how it started. And that was how my first book ever really was created, was a push, I think, in the right direction from my husband.
Is this it?
That's the
one.
Magic? Yeah. Sinners of Magic was my very first book. I'm so proud of that book. Like most authors, your first one is your baby, isn't it? It's everything. It's your journey, your learning curve of how to be a writer. You meet so many wonderful people through your books and through your writing. So
yes.
I'll always look at that book as the most. It makes me smile even now. It makes me happy just seeing that cover.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Awesome.
And this is the second book in that series, right?
Yes, because obviously when I wrote the first one, as a lot of new writers, I didn't even think about writing any more books. I just wanted to get that one book out. That was all I could think about. I hadn't thought about what would be my journey onwards. I just thought, I want to write that book. So when it actually went out into the world, and it took quite a long time because I'd got a publisher lined up, and it took me a long time to get that publisher. Probably I'd been waiting already about maybe 2 years before I'd actually got a publisher. And about 3 months before the book was due to go out, they went into administration. So I was right back to square one with no publisher, no nothing. And that was the reason why I self-published. I thought, I'm not waiting. I'm not going through all that game again. I've waited so long. And that was why. So when the book went out as self-published, a lot of people had already waited a long time for that. But what was amazing for me obviously just didn't realize was how well it was going to be received by readers, because it was my first book. I didn't have many contacts or anything like that. So I only had what I'd vocalized. Facebook. I mean, back then in 2012, it wasn't quite the same as it is now, but it was that I got with that book. And of course, then people said, well, I hope you're writing another one. And I was like, what? Another book? I hadn't thought about that. And that's how the trilogy was actually born, purely because my readers wanted more, which is what you want as a writer.
That's wonderful.
Can you tell us a little bit about the trilogy?
Let's start with Sinners of Magic.
So Crystal is a 16-year-old girl that doesn't realize that she's actually born of immortal parents. Because in their world, you cannot procrastinate with anyone outside of your own realm. An elf and a magician actually have an affair, and the elf princess gets pregnant. So because of that, the child is banished to our world, to the ordinary world, and she's brought up as a human child. So that's how the story kind of starts, because back in the elf realm, a war is coming, and they know that this child that is on Earth is actually got more power than anyone else in any of the realm, because she's obviously from the elf realm and from the magicians. So they try to bring her back. And that's what the first story is all about, her finding out who her parents are, who she really is, but also the fact that she has now got relations in the ordinary world. She's got a mother in this world that she cares about deeply. So it's kind of all about relationships, but also because I was a very novice writer, it actually does jump from one pub to another. Where is that point of view, for people who don't understand what that means. So most writings now, you have to write from one point of view, from one person. But I actually wrote from random kind of points of view. So in my books, you can actually know what people are thinking, which kind of goes against the grain of what you're supposed to do. And it's amazing because people actually loved that about the books. Whereas now, if you was going to go for a traditional publisher, they wouldn't even look at that now. Because it's not what they were looking for. So it just goes to show that the reader knows best, and the reader knows what they want. And it's all right for publishing houses saying this is what we want. But it proved by how successful Sinners of Magic was that readers are more forgiving than what the publishers are, and also what they like to read.
And we've read books done both ways. And, I think it's author's choice. It doesn't matter. As long as you're indie published, you can kind of do whatever you want. And if the readers are happy with it, what do you care? That's all you want is
that's the truth. As long as your readers are happy.
Yeah.
That's enough,
why you're doing it, is to entertain people and make them happy and let them to get out of their ordinary lives for a little bit, We're talking about fiction here, of course. Nonfiction is a different point of view.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we have Betrayers of Magic, and this looks amazing. It has a beautiful Palomino horse on it and a light in the background. And who's sitting on the horse? Who's riding the horse?
You've got Nicholas de Grunt.
Okay.
And what happens in the second book is that Crystal goes back to the Kingdom of Nine Winters, which is where obviously she's originally from, but she has to go back to school, to the Magic Academy, to learn her craft. Because although she's got amazing magic, she doesn't know how to enhance it. She doesn't know how to keep hold of it. So obviously the second book is about how she learns her powers, but also about Nicholas, because Nicholas, she's not sure if he's friend or foe. And it's also the first time, because it is a YA fantasy, so she's not quite sure how she feels about him. So obviously for the first time she's got these feelings, and they obviously kind of rub up against each other and they fall out, and little bits go on, but there's still that nugget of something special between them. So that's what the second story is all about, of how because now she's 17, she's at that age now where she's learning about life, but also she needs to know, to help her family, what's going on with the elf and who obviously her enemies are, and the enemies of her father.
Kind of like a real perplexing place to be in, to be from both realms, right?
Absolutely.
Magic and elf, and how do you
fit in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where does your loyalty lie, though?
Where's your loyalty?
Plus having been raised on Earth, she doesn't know much about either realm, does she?
No, she doesn't.
She goes there.
Yeah. So that's what the second story is more about, is about her learning her powers and her craft.
A long learning curve, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
A lot to learn. And then the third one is Defenders of Magic. And for those of you that can't see this, she's petting a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love dragons. This dragon is beautiful.
And incidentally, those 3 covers are actually paintings. I had them commissioned. So I have got those paintings on my wall in my dining room.
Wow.
And the dragon is just phenomenal.
Nice.
That is cool.
Oh, nice.
It is beautiful. And the dragon is just phenomenal. It is absolutely out of this world. And it's quite funny because the gentleman that actually painted it for me, he took it to a convention just to show his artwork off. And out of all his paintings, that was the one that everyone wanted to buy. And of course, we didn't sell it because it was my painting.
Yeah.
I think he was a bit miffed at the time, because I think he could have made a lot more money than what I'd obviously paid to have it done. But I was more happy because it was mine. And as I said, if I hadn't have asked you to do it, you wouldn't have painted it. So he probably went on and did some more dragons after that, I would have thought.
His dragon is beautiful. He did a great job.
It is beautiful. But yeah, the third story is obviously kind of rounds up the trilogy. But yeah, there's quite a few. All my stories have got quite a few curveballs in them. They're not as straight and narrow. There's things in them that clearly, hopefully that the reader doesn't expect. So they are a good read in the sense that they take you to a magical place. They obviously have got a lot of relationships going on in there. And I think that's why I found that not just YA, not just young people enjoyed them, but also older readers enjoyed them too, because they could probably, what's the word I'm looking for? They understood the relationships with people. Obviously, they probably could see a little bit themselves, maybe some of the characters. So therefore, they were quite a hit. So I think that's why the Magic trilogy has always done so well.
Yeah, it's really, it sounds just wonderful, Lynette. And I like a lot of young adult books anyway. I do. I read a lot of them. Yeah. I don't care. And I think most people are like that. It doesn't matter, whether it's YA or not.
Yeah. I think they can be easier reading sometimes. You just need to take a break, don't you, sometimes? And having a YA book is actually quite refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And sometimes you want a book that caters to people of a mature age.
Absolutely.
That have those characters as the lead characters that relate to how you're living your life. But when you want to get out of that and just be in a magic world, what do I care how old the characters are?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fantasy world. Well, and now this one is interesting to me here. It's Clump, and it shows this beautiful dog. I assume this is a dog.
It's a wolf.
Wolf.
It's a wolf.
Wolf.
Is it like a dire wolf? That kind of wolf?
Yeah, it's a Wendigo. Now a Wendigo is a changeling.
Yes.
And basically, they are a wolf at night, and they're a big hairy yeti during the day. And he was
wonderful.
He is a lovely character. Clump is a great character, and he was in the book in Betrayers of Magic, and he actually helps Crystal on her journey when she has to. I'm not sure if she's got to find the Book of Souls, and he was such a likable character that when I'd finished the book, a lot of readers had written to me and said, "Please write a book about him." So I was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that, because he was just a character that was part of the story. This is what I mean about your readers and listening to what they say and what they'd like to read next. So that's what I did. I wrote a story about Clump. And for Clump, what I love about this story more than anything else is obviously his journey. He's got real adversity. He comes through a lot of things because he's the chief's son. But unfortunately, he's vegetarian, which probably sounds really silly. However, they all eat meat except for Clump, and this actually comes to be quite a significant part of the story. And why? Now, with Clump, he gets thrown out of his village. He gets accused of all these things that he hasn't done, so he has a bit of a tough time, really tough. And obviously, he meets Crystal in the book, so you can read it as a standalone or part of the trilogy. And he helps her to get through quite a tough time in her life too. Now, what I did find, and when I wrote the book, I never for a million years expected this to happen, was I actually got an email from a mother from America. She was actually from Memphis, Tennessee, which to me was amazing, because obviously in the UK, I've never even been there. Now, this lady, her son was gay, and he'd had a really, really hard time at school. I think he was 15 at the time. And she said to me, "I believe that your book saved my son's life."
Oh.
And I was like, "What do you mean?"
Wow.
And she said, because he related to Clump, of all the hard things he'd gone through school, the way people had treated him, the way they'd shunned him, but the fact that no matter how he'd suffered, he still went for the light. He still was a good person. And at the end of it, everything works out. Everything happens for a reason. And when he comes out at the other end, things are good for him. And I still get goose pimples now, even when I talk about it, because as a writer, you can never really understand how it's going to affect a reader, your book. You've got a vision of one way of how you think you're writing it, but obviously a reader perceives it some way completely different. So for that child to have read that book and for it to help him through such a difficult time, for me, I feel that was a true blessing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
An awesome story.
It really, well, yeah. And that's when you know, regardless of all, sometimes you get rubbish reviews and people will slate you for whatever, and some people don't like your story, whatever. You get one thing like that in a lifetime, and that just made it for me. I don't care if
worthwhile. Yeah,
exactly. That I help someone with my writing. That to me,
you may have saved a life, according to the mother.
Absolutely,
so that's even
true. I'm
crazy.
Sure
amazing.
It is crazy.
But when you think about it, Clump didn't fit in. He wasn't like everybody else. He was a vegetarian. Everybody else was a meat eater. And so, of course, this boy, I can understand why he would feel, I don't fit in. I'm unlike everybody else. Everybody wants me to be a certain way. I don't want to be that way, you know. But like you said, Clump chose to be good, to follow the light, and to be a good person, which is a choice, no matter what happens in your life, right?
We all have a choice.
Yes.
And it was the same. And sometimes we have peer pressure or pressure from other people that tell us the way we should go. And even in the story with Clump, you know, there are times when you can see why he would go the other way, but he couldn't. It wasn't him. He wouldn't be true to himself. That's
wonderful.
The key, isn't it? That's the key. Be true to yourself.
I love it. I love it. That's really wonderful. That's really amazing. That really touches me. How great they could.
I think as a mother, I don't know if you've got children, but as a mother myself, I've got 6 children too, six sons. But it's true, as a mother, I know it is a blessing. Sometimes I'm not so sure. But yeah, I think as a mother, you can't bear the thought of somebody going through that.
Oh,
So
no,
the fact
no.
that he's at the other end, I will always be thrilled with that it did that for him.
We have 6 adult children, 5 daughters and 1 son. And some of our children have chosen to express themselves in ways that perhaps a lot of the general public don't agree with. You know what?
No.
They can be who they are. They have to be true to themselves. And we've never tried to make our children fall into any kind of line or even to follow in our belief or the way we live our life. They have to choose their own path, don't they?
Absolutely. As long you have to be there as a parent to support them. We might not always agree with what they say. And if it doesn't work, we're there to pick up the pieces. We all do that as parents, don't we? But they have to learn that for themselves. Absolutely. But definitely don't force people to do things they don't want to do. Absolutely.
And now we have 14 grandchildren.
Oh, you've beat me. I've only got 10.
That's great. Enough. Ours are run from age to 29 years old all the way down to 7 years old.
Oh, wow. Well, you don't look old enough to have grandchildren that old.
Oh, no. Believe us, we are.
We're old.
Our oldest daughter is 55. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
We're not young.
Well, you look amazing. You both look amazing. Seriously, you do.
Well, thank you.
You're doing something right. It must be all that fresh air.
It's all those kids and all those grandkids keep you
they keep us on our toes, that's for sure, don't they?
And they keep you young.
Yes, they do.
They have new ideas. They have young ideas. They can teach you things.
Absolutely.
This is a good time to break for our commercial.
I don't want to, but we have to. It's our sponsor.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Amen.
Sit right there.
Okay.
Dear Lord, she's still alive.
Who's still alive?
Maris, that's who.
Come on, Angie, that's impossible.
Impossible or not, she's still alive, I tell you. She killed that boatload of people, and she's just getting started. There's no limit to what she will do.
It's not easy to kill a siren. It takes a formula and a plan. Siren Song 2 is the spellbinding sequel to Siren Song. Both novels by George Dismukes.
Siren Song 2 will be on bookshelves and bookseller websites in July. Don't miss it.
Hey, look at us. We've got a new store.
Yeah, we do. It's pretty exciting.
What can you find there?
We have a number of designs available on t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, laptop and phone cases, pillows, and new designs are coming in all the time.
Sounds like a great place to shop for authors and readers.
Yeah, and it's easy to find. It's simple. Just visit indiebooksource.com, click on the store tab, and you're there.
And we're here.
We're back.
Hello.
Hello. Let's do the book giveaway while we're...
Well, before we do the book giveaway, could we go through some of her other books?
Sure, why not?
So people will know what they can choose from. So the next book would be Cracks in the Glass. Also an awesome cover. Just so you know, it's a beautiful girl in a mirror and it's cracked.
It is.
Yeah. What is this about?
So what happened was after I'd done the trilogy, as you said, as you pointed out earlier, some of my readers were of a certain age. And they said to me, they said to me, we love your trilogy, we really do, but how about writing something for us? And I was like, oh, it might be nice to have a change now, to not do, I've obviously done 4 books, fantasy, try something romantic. However, I'm not a very romantic person, so I thought if I do that, I'll have to be a little bit gritty. So yeah, Cracks in the Glass was my first novel as a romance writer in that sense. And again, it was a scary time. But Cracks in the Glass, I think Cracks in the Glass is one of my favourite book covers, without a doubt. and it was received extremely well with readers. It's a very fast-paced read. If you want something by the pool and you want something to really grip you, then that's what Cracks in the Glass is all about.
Awesome. Then the next book I have here is The Witching Hour, and this has a very beautiful young witch holding a broom.
That's true. It's only a short story, that one.
Okay.
Yeah. That was published by a publisher for a while. And I had to fight to get the rights back eventually, which I've done. And then I extended the story a little bit longer, so you get a little bit more now. And also, I'd updated it because it'd been a while. I think it'd been about 5 years, so I updated the story. The only downside was that I lost all my reviews from when it was with the publisher, so I've had to start again. So of course, I've hardly got any reviews for that book. I think there was about 60 reviews. And then I lost them all. So I'm down to about 3. So it looks like nobody liked the book, but obviously that's not the case. It's just the fact I've had to start again with it because it was too good a story to just think, well, it's been and done. So obviously I redid the book and kept the book cover. But just so
actually, to point in that direction is, if you read a book and you like a book, could you please leave a review?
Absolutely.
Always. Please, people, and if you've watched if you've read The Witching Hour, and you liked it, please leave a review. Yes. Then we come to this cute little thing. It's 2 little hedgehogs looking at each other. It looks like a little girl and a little boy hedgehog, and it's called Hoglette's Christmas Magic. It's a children's book.
It is.
How was that to venture into writing a children's book?
Well, it's quite ironic how they all happened with my children's book. I never, ever thought I would go into children's writing. Obviously, years ago, I'd written stories for my children, but that was as far as it had gone. But what I did do was, on my blog every year at a certain time, I would give a free story. And it would always be at Christmas. I would write a children's story. It'd always be quite raw. I never really did a lot of editing to it, but it was free. And I would upload it. And think nothing more of it. And I would say to my friends, if you like it, let me know. And they say, oh, I'm going to save it for Christmas Eve. I'm going to read it to my children, which I absolutely loved, which was, dead special. It really was lovely. So this was one of the stories that I'd written. I think it was probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I put it up on my website, thought nothing more about it. Obviously, when Christmas came, people started to say, I've read your story. But then something really strange happened, and I started getting bombarded by all these people saying, we absolutely loved your story. When's it going to be published as a book? And I was like, oh no, it's not going to be a book. It's just a free story. But you know what? It just wouldn't go away. Every time this book kept coming up, oh, what about the Hoglettes? What about the Hoglettes? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do the Hoglettes because it's going to cost me too much money. As an indie writer, I'm going to have to pay for the illustrations. I have no idea how to set a book out as a children's graphic designer. It just seemed like a massive headache that I just didn't want. But do you know what? My friend said to me, my writer friend said to me, you've always listened to your readers. Why you're not listening to them now? And I thought she had quite a valid point. And she said to me, look how popular that book has been on your website. So why are you ignoring that fact? And I was like, well, maybe I've exhausted everyone. Maybe everyone's read it for a start. So to then maybe nobody will buy it because they've all got it for free. All these sort of things. I have to be sensible, And I was like, I'm not so sure about this. But no, the Hoglettes would not lie down. They were here to stay. So I decided last year that I was going to give it a go and that I would do it as a book and would see what happened. So yes, it was a lot of bloodshed and tears. I was just so lucky in the people who've supported me with this book, with the actual illustrator. I've never met him. He lives in Italy. He doesn't speak very good English, but his illustrations are absolutely amazing. And yet when I sent him the story, he was able to work out what it was I wanted. And the first drawing he sent me, I actually cried when he sent it to me because it was just so beautiful. I was like, how do you even know that that's what I wanted without even telling you? So we worked together on the illustrations, and anyone who has ever seen the book, I don't know if they can, I've got a copy here. But I'm just trying to show you, like, for example, this picture here. Can you see of the badger and the hedgehog.
Looks like a badger. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I can see that.
It's so beautiful. And obviously that we've got, I'll show you one at the back because it's a bit clearer, of the family around the Christmas tree, all the little hedgehogs with mum and dad. Just very beautiful. Nice. Illustrations are just absolutely wonderful.
Precious.
So I was so lucky with that. And then obviously I got the graphic designer to put everything together. And he was just amazing. Absolutely. Colin Ward was phenomenal. So Doriano Stragoli is the guy who did the illustrations. Dory is just amazing. He is amazing. And Colin Ward is the guy that did the actual graphic design. And he knew how to put the book together, which is amazing because I just did not have a clue, you know, and he guided me and, you know, do we want this? Do we want that? How do you want certain things? I was like, I don't know. I need you to help me. And he, you know, and he did. So we got the book out for Christmas. And I have to say, it was the most wonderful, wonderful time I think I've ever had. The pictures people sent me of their children with the book, that they fall in love, teachers, bloggers, just everyone got on board with it for me. Everyone was supporting me. It was just the most amazing, amazing time. Loved him. Oh, both of them, should I say. It was just phenomenal, the support that I got. Because with a children's book, you have the worry of what parents are going to think of it. And in this world we live in now where he's got to be so politically correct, I was scared that I would say something because I haven't got young children of my own. So I was going off what I think a story should be, which is kind of an old-fashioned way of thinking. But when the teachers started coming back and when the parents were saying, I absolutely loved your story. And I remember one teacher saying to me, I wish my children were young again so I could read your book to them. That's sweet. I knew that I was onto a winner, that I had, you know, it was the right thing to do to go with the story. So that's why Hoglett's Christmas Magic was published. Because it's done so well and people have loved it so much, there is actually the next story is in the pipeline and should be out this year.
Excellent.
So, great.
Yeah. So we've got Hoglett's Birthday Surprise next, which is all about a witch. I've done it kind of like a Hansel and Gretel type house where they come across the witch and they think she's bad, but she's not. And she's got no friends because everyone's obviously scared of her. And
because she's a witch.
Yeah, because she's a witch. Now, Prickles and Primrose, they do befriend her and they show her how to use her magic and how to be a good witch so she can have friends. So the book is all about kindness, about not judging people, obviously make your own mind up, but to help people. So that's what the second book's all about. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully by, we call it autumn and you call it fall. Hopefully by then the book should be out to buy. So I'm really excited about that.
We call it autumn also. Autumn
really?
or fall.
Yeah.
Both. We call it both.
Oh, cool.
All right. Now on to the next is going to be Cat Thief. And this is a collection of short stories. And I think that's self-explanatory. And then we have Two Kinds of Truth. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. And then we can go to your book giveaway. So people will now know what they can choose from.
Sure. So Two Kinds of Truth was actually, I don't know if you guys will know it. There's a series out at the minute. I think it's like season 5 called Outlander.
It's here in the States.
Do you remember? Okay. Well, it was when the first season came out, I was absolutely smitten with Jamie Fraser. Absolutely. Honestly, I was just like so in love with this guy because he's rugged and obviously he's Scottish, which I absolutely love. But also he would like die for his woman. And it was just an amazing character. Loved him to bits. Absolutely. I couldn't get him out of my mind. And in the end, I decided the only way I could get him out of my system was to write a book. So what I did was I wrote like a modern day Jamie Fraser. So it's called Jamie McKinley. But the book was actually quite controversial because the topic that I'd chosen was about a young girl, well, not so young, in her 30s, who actually, she's married to a twin. And Jamie McKinley is one of the twins. And her husband is infertile, so they can't have children. So what happens in the story is that Callum, her husband, wants Jamie to sleep with her without her knowledge, which is kind of, very difficult even to believe. But the thing is, I actually had a friend who was married to an identical twin. So I kind of got good pointers from this lady as to what could and couldn't be done. So in my story, although people said to me that would never happen, I know that it did happen. So I went from that to create this story. So basically, it was whether or not Jamie McKinley crosses the line and sleeps with his brother's wife without her knowledge of knowing who he truly is. Because obviously, if he does cross that line, then obviously, technically, that is also a controversial because it's rape. So you have to be careful, even as a writer, whether it's fiction or not, what you're actually doing and what can happen by how you write something. So I had to be very careful what I wrote and how I wrote it. So obviously, when I wrote this story, I was a bit worried. And at first, there was a few people that hadn't read the book were commenting straight away. And I think that's very unfair. You have to read the story before you make judgment on something. Just because the blurb says something about what's going to happen, we all know fully well that in a story, there's twists and turns and lots of things that can happen that doesn't happen the way you may think it will happen. So when I wrote that book, I was on tender hooks. But again, I was very lucky because I think everyone said to me, the difference with this story is I've gone into more depth in the relationships. It's not quite a flimsy read like the Cracks in the Glass, where that's like a poolside read. This one, because of the subjects that I've chosen, it's a bit more deeper. So obviously you have to relay what is actually happening and what would happen. So that's what Two Kinds of Truth is all about. So when I wrote that book, a few people afterwards have said, oh, that, you know, you've left it where you can do a sequel. And I said, I might do that eventually. At the minute, it's not in the pipeline, but I've opened it up so that I can do that, so that I may go back and write more on that story at some time. But it certainly ends to me on a note that is satisfying.
The interesting thing about identical twins is their DNA is identical. So you could never tell who was the murderer if it was an identical twin.
Absolutely.
That was a murderer and the other one wasn't. Yeah. And also, you would never be able to say who the father actually was.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
And that was what Callum was thinking. And he tried to say to his brother that obviously it would be as though I had slept with her because we are the same person. That was his logic in what he was saying. Although obviously Jamie could see how wrong that was and the fact that, you know, it goes against everything that he was raised to do. But at the same time, he could see how much this woman wanted a child. So he really was torn between doing the right thing and the right thing, I guess. You know, he has to make that decision. And of course, in the book, you have to find out what he did and what consequences happened, whether he did or didn't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had good friends that were identical twins. One of them was unfortunately killed in an automobile accident when they were older. They'd already been married and had children, both of them, and everything. But they were nothing alike in their personality, which was interesting because they were identical twins and people couldn't tell them apart. I could always tell them apart because they were so different in their personality. They really were. So identical twins might look alike and might share the same DNA, but they don't necessarily share the same outlook on life or the same personality.
Exactly. And that's what it is with Callum and Jamie. They are nothing alike in their own character. They're completely different.
There you go. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I know that to be true from personal experience, you know. It was, one was very funny and easygoing, and the other one was more bossy and
yeah, exactly.
and more business-minded and serious and
it sounds like you talk about my characters here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's really funny.
It's actually I've written it as though it was in Scotland as well. So you've got all that. But yeah, the characters are Jamie is very outgoing. He's working on a farm. Whereas Callum is the business-minded guy. He's the one that's got the money. So yeah, I think maybe this is what I mean. You have to make sure your facts are correct when you write anything like that. And much as people will then say to me, well, I know that's not true. That would never happen. You know, it can happen. And and you know, you have to be a good writer. You have to make sure you do your homework You can't just go off on a tangent and write what you think is correct. You must make sure your facts are correct.
Right.
Right.
Well, let's do the book giveaway.
You think?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, no, then we're going to cut to commercial and then we'll come back. But let's get this rolling here. Book giveaway. The first 3 people to email cresswellen@aol.com will win an ebook copy of choice. So of any one of those books there. It's the first 3 people to email cresswellen@aol.com.
Here, I put it up. So that's cresswellen@aol.com. Anyone that wants to get in touch with oh my gosh, I can't even speak.
Lynette.
Thank you.
And I had a very good friend for a long time named Lynette. But anyway, and but I don't know. I was reading it, that's why. Anyone that wants to get in touch with Lynette can reach her at cresswellen@aol.com. And as Rob just said, it's CRESWELL. That looks like it has 3 L's.
3 L's, yeah.
3 L's in the middle.
That's why you got to be careful typing that one in.
Yeah.
I get it.
Now, even though this is pre-recorded, everybody, go ahead and email. Go ahead and email. Give it a shot. If it's over with, fine. If Lynette will let you know. But go ahead and try for the books, and you never know on these pre-recorded
so it's
shows.
CRESWELLYNNICY@AOL.com.
It's like Lynn Cresswell.
That's it.
Only turn around and
yes,
jam
that's
together.
it.
Makes sense.
So now we are going to, we'll leave the book giveaway up, and we're going to cut away for our commercials,
And we'll be right
our last
back.
set of commercials, and we will not be gone very long indeed. Ready? Bye.
At Indie Booksource, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Meyer legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book 1 of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
We're back.
We're back, everybody. Wow, this time has gone so quickly. I can't believe how fast this hour is going. And let's we'll leave the book giveaway up there. I just want to mention again, this is a pre-recorded visit with UK author Lynette Cresswell. So if you're trying to comment, we're not putting your comments up. That's why it was pre-recorded, because otherwise Lynette would have had to been up until midnight, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
I need my beauty sleep.
Yes. All right. Don't we all? So here's Lynette's website. It's Lynette's website, blog.com. So that's
easy enough. Yeah.
Yes, but I will spell it for those that you are just listening. It's LYNETTECRESSWEBSITEBLOG.com. And her Instagram is Cresswellen. So that's CRESWELLLYN. Get those 3 L's in there. That's her Instagram. Her Facebook is Lynette Cresswell Author. That's,
with 2 L's.
Yeah. The 3rd L is at the beginning of Lynette, right?
There you go.
Well spotted.
And Twitter is Cresswellen, of course, again, with the 3 L's. And you've already got her email,
So make sure you go to those links and follow and share, share her tweets and Instagram content.
And get in touch with her. Find out what she's all about.
Find
out when her new books are coming out. Pardon me?
So it sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I love this. I absolutely love hearing from people. So please get in contact if you've got anything to say or any questions about writing or anything about, the author industry. Please give me an email, and I'll be in contact with you.
Yeah.
Because we're not giving out her phone number, folks.
No, good point. No. That's too much money.
Nor her address.
Yeah. We'll have a party.
Just saying. We have to keep some things private.
True. Very true.
So besides the new Hoglets book that's in process, do you have anything else that you're actually working on right at this point?
Yes, I do. At the moment, I've just started a new novel, which is actually a spin-off from Cracks in the Glass.
Oh, okay.
I've had it on the go for a while, but I've recently cut my hours down at work so I can actually concentrate more on my writing, because it just seemed to be getting swallowed up by grandchildren and kids. And so now I've cut my working hours so that I can actually have some time for writing. So in Cracks in the Glass, there's actually a young girl called Angel in it who is actually a medium. So obviously she's got the psyche. And in that story, a lot of people, a bit like Clump, the readers really took to her. And she's had a bit of a tough time. And I thought to myself, actually, she's got a really good story here. We can, especially because I obviously seem to be drawn back to fantasy and magic and everything. I thought I can actually do a story here where we can do the mediumship and spirits, but also obviously in a normal setting. So what happens with her, and obviously I've not written it yet, I'm probably about a third way through at the minute, so I've still got a way to go. But what happens is a young boy is killed. I'm trying to think how I've done it now. It's a hit and run. He's killed, a car knocks him over, kills him. And his father knows that Angel is actually a medium and asks if he can have an audience with her as such, which she officially doesn't want to do it, but she's got money issues, so she agrees to do this. Or when she actually does the seance, the young boy well, he's not young, he's 21. When he comes through and they do all the usual stuff, is there anything you want to say? Or is he okay? All that goes on. Everything's fine. But at the end of the seance, when she actually breaks contact with the spirit world, he doesn't disappear. He actually is stuck here. So of course, then she can't understand why he's here. And obviously she tries to get rid of him, but no matter where she goes, he's with her all the time. So the story then obviously is going to unfold that it's not just about him having unfinished business. There's actually a deeper, darker side to the reason why he's actually been stuck here. And that's what the story is going to be about. I think I'm going to try and transgress the story to find out actually that the hit and run driver is obviously going to be a main part of what happens to him and why. So that's what I'm working on at the minute. So it's still raw, there's still lots to go on, but I think it will actually be quite a good read when I finally get it finished. So that's what I'm working on at the minute as well as my Hoglet story.
Well, we are actually paranormal investigators. And
I did see that earlier.
And so quite a few years back, actually, we were visiting San Juan, Puerto Rico. And we had actually made contact with a spirit in a dungeon in the fort there. I had been talking to him, and Rob had been filming, and I had said to him that I understood what had happened. The ranger had told us he'd been there for 22 years. He'd been imprisoned there. And that was during a time, that was back in the 1500s. So that was during a time when most people died of yellow fever and the pox and all different kinds of stuff. And And so they didn't last more than a week or two. And he was there for 22 years.
Wow.
And because of what he wrote on the walls, which has been preserved, they knew that he either had to be the captain of the ship or a navigator. So he was an officer on the ship that had been taken over, and he'd been put in the dungeon. And so I said to him, as a leader, I understand how horrible that had to be for you to see these people dying and there was nothing you could do for them. And I said, if you want to tell your story, we're here. We'll help your story get out. Well, then 3 women came in, and as soon as they came in, he left. We could feel him leave. He followed us home.
Really?
So he stayed in our home for almost 6 months. So just so you know that what you're talking about isn't weird or crazy or unable to happen. It's the real thing. Sometimes they do stick around, especially if they know you can see them.
That's it. Well, you'll love this story then, because he's definitely sticking around, definitely. And he's going to be very handsome, obviously. Even if he is dead.
So do you have any advice for a wannabe author, somebody who hasn't really had the courage to jump out there yet and doesn't know exactly which direction to go?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny because yesterday I actually had a meeting with a new author who was a male model. And I met him in town over a coffee. And you kind of forget when you've been in the business as long as I have, if you guys probably have too, how much people don't understand the actual industry and what it takes. He came, bless him, with his actual story written on paper, which surprised me even now because he's 26. But also simple things that he didn't understand of, like, he was worried because he said, well, how am I going to condense it from A4 paper to a book size? You know, you forget that people don't understand the transgression of how it goes from that to being a book. So we had a lovely time. And when he was reading a little bit of his story, which was ever so good. It really was good. And I said to him, you always have to be true to yourself when you're writing. Doesn't matter what anyone says. Doesn't matter what people advise you. You have to write the story that's in your heart, that you want to write. Sure, people will guide you, like your editor, proofread, all that sort of thing. But you have to write what you want to write, because if you don't, when you look back on it, you will regret that. So my advice has always been, take your time. There's no rush. You don't have to have it written, within 3 months or 6 months. It may take you 2 years. For a good piece of work, you have to take your time. You have to make sure that what you've written is what you want to be on the page. So once you've got your book sorted, then my advice obviously is it's not just about getting your family and friends to read it, because they are going to be biased. They are going to tell you it's amazing, even if it's not, and that's the problem with a lot of new readers. They'll say, well, my mum thinks it's great, or my auntie thinks it's amazing. They are there. And plus they're not in the book industry, so they're not going to know what everyone's looking for. So my advice is always join some book clubs, like even on Facebook, things like book connectors, which are really, really vital, because in those groups, you've got editors, you've got new writers, you've got old writers, you've got bloggers, you've got every walk of life, publishers that are all in that group. And the information that they give to new writers is absolutely phenomenal, because when you go, people will write something and like a question like, I need an editor or I need advice. They're there to help you straight away. People will give you free advice for things that help a new writer. So definitely, please join something like that. Not just book groups as in when you read books, because obviously you still need to read to actually hone your craft. So the more you read the genre that you're writing, the better your writing will be, because you will see how it's written. But definitely join as many groups as you can on Facebook, just to get the backup, and start getting friends with other authors as well. Because as we even today, you are supporting me as an author. you know, and without people like your good selves, you know, a lot of authors would never get out there, would never get very far. It's all about connections, about supporting each other. So even as a new writer, as a new writer, put the feelers out. Don't do it alone. Start to make friends with other new writers. They can help you. And plus, new writers and friends are great for brainstorming. If you get stuck on something, you don't quite know where to go with it, talking to other writers will help you to get to that next step. So that is my advice. You know, just start making friends and get yourself out there.
And just to say to any new authors that are listening or want to be authors, or somebody that hasn't even put pen to paper yet, though actually we all do it on our laptops, except your young friend.
Yeah.
Which that's a first. That's the first I've heard that in a long time. But, you know, indie authors are the most giving, kind, and considerate people that we've ever met. When we first started,
we've met some amazing people.
Yes, so much help. Like you said, join a writers group, or like Lynette said, a book club, and you know, everyone will be happy to help you. Get on social media, get on Twitter and Facebook, and you're going to find other people there that can help you. And if you see someone that you really like the way they interact or something, and you don't know who else to ask that person, you know, because all of us authors are retweeting other authors all the time. And that's how you get to know each other and to network. And it's really a good thing. I think it's a great thing.
Book marketing and book publishing can be a bottomless pit. I mean,
we all need all the help we can get.
Absolutely.
It's like a black hole. You know?
That's why we have this podcast.
But you're absolutely right in what you're saying. In the years I've been an author, the people who I've met have been amazing.
Yeah.
All supportive. Everyone wants to help each other. And you don't really get that anywhere else. Normally it's dog eat dog. Everyone's trying to outfox everyone else. And yet when a friend writer like gets to #1 in the bestsellers, you're absolutely thrilled for them, because you know how hard they've worked and how much support they've had. Because no author can do it alone. No one. Doesn't matter who they are, whether you know you're Stephen King or whatever. They've all had support over the years. There's never one person behind a book. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They think it's just they write a book and it goes out. But there are so many people that are involved with your writing from day one and I've always found that other authors are amazing to each other. They are so supportive, and it's an amazing network and community.
Absolutely.
You know, I would be lost without them now. I know if I've got a down day or I'm struggling with something, I can go online and I can talk to someone, and they will have me way, way back up there on my little cloud within 5 minutes. You know, that's the difference. They are, you know, you guys too, amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I know when we first started, I can remember Paul Hollis was so much help to us. He was incredible. He was our go-to guy. He was really supportive, and
a lot of people
of people were, yes. But gosh, I still remember how much help he gave us, and even when he put out his first video book trailer, and we were like, gosh, how did you do that? At the beginning, you don't know anything, you know? And so just to all new writers, we were all new writers at one time, and we didn't know anything.
We did not know anything.
And now we've learned a thing or two, and we would love to pass it on to anybody that will want to have it passed on, who wants to have that info.
I love the pictures on Facebook of somebody who's just opened up their box when they've got their first book published, and their book's in there, and they're going, look what came today, you know? That's a really cool feeling when you see your book in print. You know?
It is, because it's like when you look at your baby for the first time, you're so proud of you've created this wonderful little being. And a book is exactly the same, because you put all your heart and soul and time and effort into that book. So when you open that box, it is just like having your baby for the first time and seeing what you've created. It's an amazing. You're so proud, aren't you? You pick up the book and you stroke the cover and you smell it, open it, and you're like, oh, look at all those words, and I've written every one of them.
That's right.
That's the first thing I did was smell it.
Yeah,
It was like,
amazing,
so cool.
amazing feeling.
It is. It's really great, and it's so fun. So if anyone wants to write, go ahead, write, give it a shot. Don't do it to make $1 million. Do it because you want to write.
Again, if you're just watching or listening to this pre-recorded episode, email Lynette and get in on that book giveaway. It's never too late to email her anyway, so go ahead and do it.
That's
so
right.
We want to thank you, Lynette, for taking your time today to share with us and get a glimpse into the world of Lynette Cresswell's writing.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. It really has.
Thank you so much
for inviting me.
It's been wonderful, and the hour went by so quickly.
It sure did.
It did. It did. It was really fun.
So we're going to move you over to the side, and we've got only a couple things to talk about. I guess I'm going to talk about them.
You are.
I am. Saturday, this coming Saturday, July 16th, episode Rewind. As you know, we rewind all the old episodes throughout the year we just are progressing right through the episodes in the order that they happen. This Saturday, 5:30 p.m., that's July 16th, Eastern Time in the USA, Orlando Sanchez, his episode, one of his episodes is going to be on. He's been on a couple times. Really brilliant author.
A very popular author.
Very popular too, and just amazing the energy that he has.
Yeah.
And he's a kind person.
Oh, he's a
as
good
well.
person.
He's
a
good man.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday, July 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the USA. We're going to have another event, Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Reveal Part 2. And this will be the next 3 books in the series that we're going to talk to the authors of those 3 books. Jim Callahan, Brakefield and Berkey, that's Charles Brakefield and Rox Berkey, and Richard Schwint are the 3 authors of the 3 books that we're going to be talking about.
And we know some of these people, so you're in for a lot of fun.
Yeah, Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles is a series that there's 9 authors that write from different points of view around the same town at the same time period. So, and they all have there's overlapping characters that they feature. So,
which is really an interesting way to write, because they are going to share their character from their own perspective. However, they have to stay true to the original author's idea of that character. So.
Right. So it's going to be a really interesting series.
Yeah, and this is the second.
Yeah, I think the first one came out in March, didn't it, or April? April, yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's been a couple out now. We've got to catch up on that ourselves.
The first 3, the first 3 will have all been out by July, and then this will be the second set of 3.
Yeah, this is the next set. So anyway, I think that's all I have. Unless you have anything you'd like to add.
No, I've talked enough.
All right. Until next time.
That's all, folks.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.